Persona 5 is my favorite game of all time. I got this game last year and I went in completely blind. Now I have heard plenty of things about Persona 5 before playing, nothing story wise, mainly about the music. I have heard a few tracks before, but after playing the game it became one of my favorite OSTs of all time. But we'll get into that later. I finished Persona 5 with a total of 81 hours, and now I'm doing New Game Plus. But today, I want to talk about why this is my favorite game of all time. So here comes the intro that's about to cut me off.
Wake up, get up, get up there. Raise your voice, I guess like yours. Feed your anger like fire. Why discover?
Persona 5's story is amazing. It's my favorite story in any video game. Feel free to argue in the comments. Now I'm not going to go too much in depth or try to spoil anything for people that haven't played. Play as this high school student whose life got ruined and now you live with this really cool shop owner named Sojiro. You find this cat and create a group called the Phantom Thieves. You steal the corrupt hearts of evil adults. You have these places called palaces, which is how you steal the corrupt hearts and destroy their evil desires. And this is like the bare minimum of how I can explain it without going into too much detail or spoiling. Experiencing this game and its story for the first time was brilliant. Every time story was involved, I never lost interest. It really picks up after the second palace. Everything gets more interesting. Storytelling was great also, with the voice acting to back it up. It's a beautiful experience that I recommend to anyone who likes JRPGs or just good video game stories in general. Persona 5 has tons of characters, some memorable and some... yeah. Persona 5 has a fantastic cast of main characters, especially the Phantom Thieves. You've got the silent protagonist Joker, the rebellious and loudmouth Ryuji, the kind and compassionate An, the stern and serious Makoto, the rather strange but dependable Yusuke, the sudden and isolated Futaba, the shy and reserved Haru, the confident Morgana, and I'm not including you, we'll get to you later. I can't forget characters like Sojiro, Kawakami, Sainijima, and a few more. One thing that I was surprised about this game is how it made me like characters that I didn't like before, like Makoto for example. I found her quite annoying, but when we got her backstory, I felt kinda bad for her. And with backstories of characters I don't tend to like, my opinion of them doesn't change. But Makoto was an exception and I was surprised by that, but once she joined the Phantom Thieves, she became one of my favorite characters in the entire game. And another example was with Sojiro. He felt like he didn't want to take me in from the start of the game, but the more I played, the more I saw how he cared about me, teaching me how to make coffee and such. Easily a really good character. But there are some characters I don't like in the game. Like most of the corrupt adults we have to change, with the exception of Sai. But I think my least favorite character is Goro Akechi. From the beginning of when he was introduced, I didn't like him. He always seemed sneaky and fake. Disclaimer, from this part until insert timestamp here, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to get spoiled, head to that timestamp now. I love you. Later on, he joins you as a member of the Phantom Thieves, but later on again, he ends up turning out to be evil and betrays the group. And even during a cutscene, Goro was shown killing Joker, and even if that Joker turned out to not be dead, I hated Goro after that moment. He became my least favorite character instantly. The main cast of Phantom Thieves are my absolute favorite characters in the entire game. The way they interact with each other and show that they really care about each other is something I really appreciate and love to see. Now, I've heard Persona 4's characters are better with the way they interact with each other, but I haven't played enough of 4 yet to really see which one is better. To wrap this section up, my favorite character out of the Phantom Thieves has to be either Futaba or Yusuke, although all of them are perfect in their own brilliant ways. The music, yes, the music. This game has the best music I've ever heard in any video game to date. Its genre is acid jazz, combining funk, disco, jazz, and many more all together, and the genre perfectly captures the feeling of this game. The vocal tracks in this game are spectacular, such tracks like Rivers in the Desert, Beneath the Mask, specifically the Rain version because that one's my favorite.
I'm a sharpshooter. I post masquerade.
Life Will Change,
Right before your eyes. What just multiply?
The Whims of Fate,
So we know that I see what they made for.
Wake Up, Get Out There,
Wake up, get up, get up there. Raise your voice, I guess like yours.
and more. The vocalist for these tracks is Lin Inazumi. She is brilliant. Her vocals and accent really give these songs a lot of character. I couldn't think of a better choice of a vocalist. Not only are these vocal tracks amazing, the non-vocal tracks are amazing too. Such tracks like Confess in Secret, Tokyo Daylight, Sunset Bridge, have a short rest. My personal favorite, Layer Cake and The Day Mother Was Here. The composer for these tracks, I don't want to butcher his name, so I'll put it up on screen here. He also did Persona 4 and others. I've listened to these songs more times than I can count. Hearing these tracks while sitting at my desk or laying down is a great time, but listening to these tracks for the first time while playing was an experience. For example, during a palace, Whims of Fate start playing throughout the entire palace, and I actually stopped. I stopped playing. I put my controller down and I would just sit there for 5, 10, 15 minutes just listening to the song on repeat. I never once got tired. Also, with tracks like Beneath the Mask Rain, it perfectly fits, making me more immersed with the environment and the game as a whole. It's such a relaxing song, as well as a great song to work to. I actually listened to it while writing the script. Every time it rained in Persona, I would get excited. I would head straight to the cafe and just put my controller down, doing nothing but listening to the song. I advise everyone to at least take a peek into Persona 5's OST. Now the gameplay. Persona 5 is a dungeon crawler JRPG, going down long hallways and solving puzzles, but most importantly, fighting shadows. Persona 5 is a turn-based JRPG. Now normally I don't like those, but when it came to Persona 5 it was so engaging, hearing the battle theme in the background and strategizing each battle, especially the boss fights. You can only take 4 members with you, so choosing who to go can be tough, but that's engaging also, seeing the outcome of if you picked a good team or not. But dungeon crawling and turn-based combat isn't the only thing you do. Like I said, you live the life of a high school student, so why not incorporate that into the game itself? And Persona 5 does that brilliantly. You can work a part-time job, check out library books, make coffee, go out to eat, and plenty more. And the best part of all this, doing these things gets you closer to maxing out your social skills. And you want to max these out most definitely, as you can't do certain things without it. For example, say you want to romance Ann or Makoto, you'll need a certain level of a certain social stat to progress said romance, which I think is really cool and gives the player more of a reason to grind them up. Speaking of romance, let's talk about that a little bit. From the start of the game, I wanted to romance Futaba. From what I heard about her before starting the game, I knew that was the one. Now, you don't see Futaba until a little later in the game, but I was grinding for that kindness way before she was even mentioned. And once you could hang out with her, that was the only person I hung out with, leaving the others feeling very neglected. After grinding for a bit, I finally romanced Futaba, and it was completely worth it. Although I did almost mess up romancing her, I was also talking and hanging out with Kawakami quite a bit, and if I talked or hung out with her one more time, I would have romanced her instead of Futaba. I had to pump the brakes immediately. Also, since I'm starting New Game Plus, I decided to romance Makoto next, and hopefully I don't make the same mistake with Futaba like last time. This game gave me a newfound respect for turn-based RPGs, and inspired me to try them out in the future. This game means a whole lot to me. The characters, the music, the gameplay, everything. And I can say with confidence this game has become a part of my life. If this game was the only thing I would talk about with family and friends, and when I got this game, my family was having trouble getting a place to call our own, having to stay with my aunt for a while before having to stay with my grandma. Even though I really didn't like staying at other people's houses, I always had this game. It kept me company. While struggling to find our own place, I complained a lot. But having this game to always play and just grind palaces for a few hours made things better for me. Getting more and more emotionally attached to each Phantom Thieves member, I beat the game in March of this year. And I cried. I cried because I wasn't expecting it. I didn't want the game to be over. Having to say goodbye to everyone and seeing that final cutscene really hit me. Since I played this game so much and got so attached to it, I sat there looking at the TV screen. Sad that it ended. Sad that the greatest video game experience I've ever had came to a close. Sad that the game that gave me so much comfort had finished. After playing through this game, I needed more. That's why I started New Game Plus. This New Game Plus is definitely going to take longer to beat than my first run, but I'll beat the game all over again. I even thought for a while that I'll romance every girl in the game. I realize now that that would take nearly forever. I'll do it someday though. But even doing this New Game Plus is going to take all year, maybe even all of 2023. Playing and beating Persona 5 made me want to go back and play the previous titles. And about 2 months ago I started playing Persona 4. I'm not that far in, only about 3 hours in so far. I'll try to come back to it and play more, but I built up quite a backlog of games since then. Plus with school it'll take even longer. I do want to try Persona 3 as well, but that's not for a while. I will eventually play those games. I might even go back and play the OG too. And even maybe the Shin Megami Tensei games down the road, but that's for years to come.